Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the next film in Day of the Dead. We have Red, White and Blue for you. We have director Simon Rumley and producer Bob Portal, who are just going to come up and say a few words. Would you like to join me on stage, guys? We're very pleased to have Simon's film here. We played Simon's film The Living and the Dead in 2006, which was very well received. And Simon was kind enough to be on the Méliès jury for us last year, so it's really nice to have him back. Red, White and Blue originally was going to be in the Méliès competition, but as it won in London a couple of weeks ago, it means we've had to withdraw it. But obviously we do still want to show it, and you're getting to see a winning film, and not just at London either. I understand it's done well elsewhere. Yeah,
we've had a pretty crazy year. This is I think our 27th festival. So yeah, I think we won we did win at Fantasia in Montreal and Boston Underground Film Festival, and then we got a runner-up kind of thing in Ravenna. So it's been a good run, and hopefully there'll be a few more next year as well.
Excellent. We're not going to give too much away because obviously we want you to watch the film, but do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, very few words. Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming. It's a great audience, great turnout. I don't know how much anyone knows about it, so probably best to keep it that way, but you will find the first part of the film quite a slow burner, so don't start thinking, have I got the right film? Because it does start off like a very kind of horror film. Apart from that, yeah, we're going to be here for the Q&A at the end, so do stick around and ask us some questions, and then we'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Martin. I mean, and what an amazing venue, fantastic, and a really good Saturday matinee audience. I'm actually from Hull originally, and Simon went to university there, so this is the closest we've got to a Yorkshire screening, and we're really looking forward to the audience's reaction. But anyway, thanks very much.
And as Simon said, we're going to do a Q&A afterwards, so do stick around after the film, and if there's anything you want to ask, I'm sure Simon will be more than happy to answer.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Here we are with the producers and the director and writer of Red, White and Blue. So first of all, for people who haven't, quite got to see the picture, yeah, you said you were having trouble having distribution. Do you want to give a quick description of what it is?
Yeah, it's a film that's all set in Austin, Texas. We kind of call it a slacker revenge movie, which starts off as a straight drama and turns into something much, much darker later on. It basically follows three characters who are living on the margins of life in Austin, whose lives kind of intertwine in kind of horrible ways, and things go pretty badly wrong for them. At base, it's a sort of love story that turns into a horror film.
Okay, I mean, it's been touched on that it is a very much a love story, as well as, you know, with the obvious horror thrown in it. A lot of the stuff that I got, there is the potential for a bit of a morality tale. A lot of the factors that, you know, we came across are real life horror situations that people do get scared about. I mean, how far would you say that you took this into account?
I think you're right that it has a lot of factors which could make it morality tale, but I think one of the key things in the storytelling and the writing of the film was that we don't moralize at all. We don't really pass judgment on any of the characters. That they all do what they do, whether it's right and wrong. We try and really give them the kind of a sympathetic, as much as possible, a sympathetic kind of understanding, really, because I think they all do bad things, but they're not necessarily evil people. So ultimately, what happens, it's more a tragedy than anything else.
Okay, just touching on, as you were talking about the characterisation and the characters, obviously casting is quite an important stretch of any kind of production. How involved were you both within this? You did say that you did approach Noah Taylor, who played Nate. I mean, how important was this for you?
Well, Noah is someone who I've watched since I was a teenager, and his first film was a film called The Year My Voice Broke, and that was an amazing film, something I loved when I saw it when I was 16. So I very much grew up watching him.
And it was Flirting, wasn't it? With Tandy Newton and Nicole Kidman, yeah.
So and both by a guy called John Dwegan, and both very charming films, and yeah, so I've very much kind of grown up watching Noah's films, and I guess over the years he's done some bigger Hollywood films, he's done some quirky indie films, and so yeah, so getting to work with him was a really great honor actually, and you know, he turned out to be a very nice guy as well, so that was really fun, and I've always thought he was an amazing actor, so I think for him being able to do this film was actually. He loved it, I have to say, because it turned out that he always wanted to play a killer in a film, and that had never been given the chance. Because
well, he had played Hitler once, but that didn't count.
Yeah, Max. Yeah, he doesn't really kill anyone, you know, quite in the same way that he does her. But yeah, so he'd always wanted to play a kind of serial killer, kind of like maniac. So for him, you know, it was great, kind of working with someone who I respected, who was so happy to be working on this. People often ask, how did you get such great performances? And to be quite honest, I'm actually fairly uncharacteristically modest about it, and really say that once we'd cast the roles, once I'd got Noah, Amanda, Mark on board, that I think they all had an inherent understanding of the characters. I think they all wanted to make sure that the audience kind of somehow sympathizes or empathizes with the characters and has some kind. So certainly they played the characters as people that they loved. And you know, they didn't try and make them evil or bad, nasty people. And I think, because actually, if you kind of distill the characters, you know, they're all, you know, they do, as I said, you know, they're not evil, but they all do pretty bad things.
I mean, the characters I could find relatable and quite, you know, horrible, quite simultaneously as well. Which characters would you both say you could relate to the most throughout?
I think for me, when I first read the script, certainly the ones I could relate to actually were the Erica and the Nate character, who have this sort of burgeoning relationship that never quite makes it onto the screen, but is happening unfolding as we watch. And I think that humanized them, despite them both having pretty murky pasts, and despite, you know, Erica doing some pretty horrible things that we're sort of vaguely unaware of at that stage. The one I had more difficulty with actually was the Frankie character on paper, because I thought, you know, he's just a kind of young idiot, and then what he does is quite horrible. But then he's sort of humanized with, you know, with what he does with looking after his mother, you know, and sort of trying to patch things up with his girlfriend. So, and you know, and Mark does this kind of mix of, Mark Center, who plays the character, does this mix of kind of semi-psychotic in certain scenes, but it's only coming out of sort of passion. He's just obviously a very emotional, highly strung young man, which, you know, so many are, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's a young 20-year-old kid.
It's a pretty hard question, because I wrote them, so I think again, as I was saying, with the actors, you know, very much told the actors
how they brought it out to you on the screen.
Well, again, amazingly well. I mean, I think, you know, Noah with his big beard and stuff. You know, he has that right mixture between being very, you know, calm, nice chap who, you know, if you spoke to him, you feel that he'd be very, very pleasant back to you, but you know that actually once you've spoken to him a few times, that he's a bit weird, and that there's something kind of underlying his benign manner. And I think Amanda with Erica, I think, you know, the Erica character is someone who's really very lonely and isolated, and, you know, she almost has a self-imposed kind of self-destructive essence about her, and I think that there's her relationship with a child, which as the film goes on, you know, she becomes friends with this 8-year-old kid, and again, which is kind of sad in a way for a grown woman, that the only person she thinks she can really have a relationship with is an 8-year-old boy. So I think again, you know, and I think they all bring out the humanity of the characters. So yeah, I mean, back to, you know, in terms of getting them to make the roles, you know, successful and identifiable, I think it's, you know, they very much, you know, brought their own kind of personalities and kind of, you know, I suppose vision to the characters.
Okay, and during the shoot, was it pretty much straightforward, or did you have any dramas within the the time that you'd be willing to share?
Okay, sure, I'll do one, you can do another.
Okay.
So the one drama we had, it wasn't major, but it was there is a scene with Amanda, who plays Erica, where she's running with an injured kid in her arms, and when we shot that, she ran with the injured kid in her arms and was happily saying to him before she did so, "Oh, you know, don't worry, it's fine, no problem, I can carry you." And of course, fell flat on her face, or rather flat on the injured kid on the tarmac, you know, bruised both herself quite badly and was a bit shocked by the whole experience. Not to mention the kid, who obviously wasn't terribly happy. Those screams, well, not quite, but I can tell you that I'm not sure that kid ever quite trusted her after that. Their relationship was a little bit strained for the rest of the shoot. But that was probably our biggest injury, which is actually quite good going. What else happened?
I mean, I have to say, generally speaking, it was a great shoot. We did it in 18 days, so it was incredibly quick. We covered a lot of ground. We had a crew who were really amazing and just were absolutely able to keep up with the pace that we set in the first few hours. I guess the other thing that went slightly awry was actually the last few scenes of the film, which everything was shot on location in Austin, apart from probably the last 6 or 7 scenes, which are shot in a national park called Big Bend, which is about 8 hours away from Austin, and I was the only person who'd been there. And I think a group of maybe 8 of us, we had a kind of a fairly minimal kind of skeleton crew, so a group of 8 of us went down, and we'd finished the main shoot, so this is like, I thought this was going to be our kind of, you know, our road trip, and it's going to be really fun, and everyone's going to have a really cool time, but I think everyone had kind of celebrated the night before, so I don't think we even left until probably like, we were meant to leave at like 8 in the morning, I think we left at 12, and then I think on the way there we had not one but two flat tires. So when we got there, we needed to catch the sunset and do about another kind of 6-7 shots, and we caught the sunset, and then it was dark. So that meant automatically that we couldn't really do anything. But we went to the location that I found, which turned out to be another hour away from in the park, 'cause it's such a massive park. And then we got there, and it was pitch black, because obviously it was in the middle of nowhere. And then we hadn't eaten, but because it was in the park in the middle of nowhere, there weren't any McDonald's or any restaurants at all. So I think we
had a couple of granola bars or something in the truck.
Yeah, we literally had like you know,
trampled on the floor.
Yeah. So I think we went to bed. By the time we got to our kind of bed location, it was probably about I don't know, probably 1 or 2ish, and then I think we got up for sunset, which was like 3 hours later. And so people,
for sunrise, you mean?
For sunrise, yeah. And then on the way back, we got stopped by the police twice, because someone who basically had the van before had run into a deer and killed a deer and then smashed the front lights. So then we were driving back late at night with only one light, which is illegal and stuff. So yeah, so it was kind of hard work, really.
It was inauspicious.
I was happy that we did it. It was a bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
But everyone
A story to tell.
Yes,
exactly.
But apart from
it's
that,
a good ending
it
to the film.
Yeah, it went very well.
Okay, well, that's been fantastic. I'd just like to really quickly ask you, I mean, you've been here before in 2006. What are your experiences of the film festival, of this particular one?
I was actually here. I don't think I came in 2006. Because I can't remember why, but I couldn't. But I was here last year because I was on the jury here. So yeah, it's great. It's because you're never sure with festivals whether you're going to get 5 people or 500. And I think as a filmmaker, obviously you want more people to see the film, and especially in your own country and in your own language. So I think I've been, you know, last year and this year I've been constantly impressed by the crowds who've turned up. Yeah. I don't know how many people are here today, but it seemed like 300 or 400 people. Yeah. So that's great, you know, great turnout. I think that the venue is really, you know, unusual and atmospheric, the City Hall. So I think yeah, it's a really great place to screen, and I think the films that are playing are really pretty good and pretty interesting. So